Hello everybody, it's Jazzy! Welcome to the Year 2 recap for Merm on the Moon, my new solo Wurt world over on Twitch. This world began as a hardcore boss run, but has since become a beta exclusive megabase world that I've been using to check out all the new stuff in the From Beyond content arc. Before we get started on Year 2, I just wanted to take a moment to give a big shout out to Gearless for their amazing artwork that you see on this thumbnail. We've been using their Steamed Collection mod for many Endless servers, and their art style is honestly the closest I've seen in the community to that authentic clay style that we all know and love. Okay, let's get started. Year 2 was a busy one. Wurt has a lot of bosses left to get to before firing up the new base. Ruins are cleared, so the first boss on the list is Fuelweaver. I grabbed some cactus flowers before summer ended, so I'll make 15 flower salad for healing, and I can also save one for Pearl. For sanity, I will use a stack of cooked cactus. I need to stop by the ruins to grab the key, and while I'm here, I'm going to craft another construction amulet and a pickaxe. That way I can run straight from the atrium over to Nightmare Werepig. With moggles and a lazy explorer, you can telepoof your way around the atrium without messing with clockworks or sanity obelisks. But there's a trick to scooting past these obelisks without telepoofing. What you do is hug the obelisk and equip your Nightmare amulet. When the pillars go down, you pick the backpack up and run through before the obelisks reset. Do not do this near the void because the obelisks have an awesome habit of pushing your backpack off the edge. Yay! This atrium turned out pretty good. There are no bishops on the way to the gateway room. Just a handful of rooks and knights, which are easy to just run past on a beefalo. The room right outside of the gateway room does have some clockworks, and I'm gonna clear it so I can park the beefalo in that room. I just need to make sure to grab the beefalo immediately after Fuelweaver before the clockworks respawn. Having an ancient obelisk right outside this room is gonna give Wurt a great opportunity to top off her sanity with the Bee Queen crown, and that'll save on cactus before the fight starts. Okay, time for Fuelweaver. My strategy for this fight is identical to the strategy I describe in my video, How to Tank Fuelweaver. The basic idea is to kite around for phase 1, then when it starts summoning, I'm going to tank as much as possible. And this will help me save uses on some of the more expensive items, like Lazy Explorers and Weather Panes. For phase 1, I'll use a Dark Sword, and then in phase 2, I switch to the Thulecite Club. Now the club does less base damage than a Dark Sword, but every hit has a 20% chance of spawning a Shadow Tentacle that will do extra damage. So on average, the club will do more overall damage unless your character has any base damage multiplier like Wolfgang or Wigfrid. In that case, just stick to a Dark Sword. I can feel my shoulders relaxing as Fuelweaver dies. This is definitely one of the hardest solo fights in the game, especially for a default damage character. I didn't bring any Dreadstone, so I can't activate the rifts yet. And for the rest of the bosses, I don't have much need for the rift gear, so I'm gonna hold off for a little bit. I'm not quite ready for Acid Rain and Giant Boulders and Bright Shades. Oh god, the Bright Shades. What I'm ready for is Nightmare Werepig. I'm going to use some of the leftover gear from Fuelweaver, including the Thulecite Club and the crowns. I can use the Bone Helm to kill the Shadelings, and I'll wear bone armor for the fight. The boss hits very hard, especially the slam. So having bone armor for this fight makes it a whole lot more forgiving. I generally like to get to this fight earlier in a run because the gear is useful, but since Wurt tamed a beefalo, it didn't seem as necessary to procure strong armor right away. But getting into the late game, and especially the rifts, there's going to be more situations that are less suited to a beefalo, so it'll be good to get the armor now. I had saved the fossils from Fuelweaver, and I'm rebuilding the skeleton on the surface. When Wurt gets her next Shadow Atrium, we'll have easy access to light bulbs and glowberries. Not to mention a very strong sanity station. Day 78, I was very relieved to find the sus Moonrock. I had recently ended a Wormwood boss run after waiting until day 120 for the orb. Apparently, the spawning mechanics can make for rare situations where the orb just doesn't spawn, and because of this, I was basically soft-locked into the Moonstorms. That's failed Wormwood boss run number 2, for anyone who's counting. Fun fact, the first run I similarly rage quit because of a bug that subsequently got patched. But that's a story for another recap. But for now, it's time to dig up the celestial pieces. The first piece is in the swamp, of course, and the second piece is in the savannah. So now the astral detector will point to the altar pieces I have yet to mine out on the Lunar Island. Day 80, Berger spawns, and Wurt's going to bring him around a forest for a while, just to farm a little bit of wood before a horde of tree guards catches up to him. Afterwards, I'm gonna finish the job and grab Berger's sketch, and I'd love to say just this once, but let's be real. After Host of Horrors, Berger might not be too permanent of a visitor in my worlds from now on. Now we're gonna work on Pearl Quest for a bit. First thing is to go sailing and find a salt formation and Pearl's Island. I'm building a tackle receptacle and a handful of baits so that I can fish while sailing. The idea is if I manage to get 5 heavy fish, I can gift those to Pearl for a friendship point, and any leftovers I can give the Merm King for gold and tentacle spots. I'm stopping by the Lunar Island to drop off the Sanctum pieces and also mine out the 3 altar pieces. Now the astral detector will point to Crab King. I didn't have a ton of luck with heavy fish, but I managed to grab a handful of regular fish, and now I'm handing them over for gold. Wurt can have a tough time with gold after all the boulders have been mined, so I'll take any extra when I can. There's a trick that will let us trade with Pig King, but that's gonna have to wait till year 4. Sorry. Because winter is coming, I'm gonna make a hibernation vest for Pearl. I could also give her the dapper vest, which is needed anyway, but whatever. I got a Krampus sack. I'm not about to make an insulated pack. Besides, I think I already have an extra thick fur from Klaus. Beginning of winter, I'm sailing over to Pearl's Island, and I do not plan to leave without the Pearl in hand. For friendship points, she's getting 3 house upgrades, the snow vest of the gentry, a flower salad to remind her of summer, dried kelp from the stalks I'm stealing from her land, the death of a bulbous plant minding its own business and unable to grow eye plants on the island turf anyway, 8 berry bushes that I will absolutely take back, 10 flowers from butterflies I've kept alive by force-feeding butterfly wings, and taxpayer-provided sanitation services around the coastline. On day 95, after having built a lifetime of trust and friendship in the spawn of a couple of days, Wurt gets a shiny gift from the cranky lady. Since it's winter and I plan to keep this world for a while, I do want to get to Klaus every year, if only to build up the supply of wax paper. Luck would have it, Klaus number 2 is going to give us our second piece of the holy steel wool, which means we can now craft our war saddle without fighting a single filthy, disgusting Yucus. I'm glad I brought back another construction amulet. Now I just need to trap 2 bunnies, and this beefalo gets a brand new war saddle, which will turn my cow's head into a dark sword. Almost a dark sword. Fast forward to Crab King. But first, let's watch Jakey's video. Okay. Alright. Control C, Control V. This is gonna be an interesting fight. The idea is to let the Merms do all the damage and just freeze the boss to cancel the geysers. I don't want to row too far away because that will limit how many Merms are able to reach the boss to attack. So the boat needs to stay relatively close, and the downside of this is that the claws are more likely to spawn in really weird places around the boat. I am praying throughout the fight that a claw doesn't spawn in the front of the boat. I would have to target it with the mouse button while the Merms are running around it. But my job is to cancel the geysers, kill the claws, and repair the boat. If I stay towards the back of the boat, then Crab King will not do his freeze attack. You can cancel that attack, same as geysers, but if I can avoid it completely, then there's less danger of losing your Merm power during a healing phase. Crab King departs on day 107, along with much of the remaining tension and anxiety in my body. I dread this fight in ways I do not dread anything else in this game, not even Fuelweaver. Like, with Fuelweaver, you can make a mistake or 2 and recover, but with Crab King, you goof once and you're literally sunk. It is so good to have it done. Now it's time for Moonstorms. I'm starting the Moonstorm at the top of a day so that I can give Wurt an entire day to fight the Terror Twins. I have some Merm guards, but I don't expect them to last very long. Fortunately, I have my beefalo with the Glossmer saddle, which should be plenty of speed to bully both bosses. I was able to kill Spaz quickly, but not before losing most of my Merms to the phase 2 charges. Now I'm fighting RhythmOrganyzer by myself. And while fighting, I realized I had made a fatal mistake in not bringing a bone helm to this fight. My lunacy was completely maxed out for the entirety of the fight, and it finally caught up to me when the Gestalts knocked me off the beefalo and left me passed out a few feet away from the boss. The only thing that saved me and my beefalo right here was the weird behavior of this boss to not attack unless you're standing right in front of it. So I got a free pass this once, and I will not forget the bone helm for Celestial Champion. For the Moonstorms, I'm gonna make Dreadstone armor. This will give me some good protection while I wear goggles. It won't repair itself inside the storm, but if it's less than 100%, it will activate a very strong sanity drain, which will help to keep my lunacy down. This drain is actually twice as strong as Knight armor. The Merms are nominally useful in the Moonstorms. Like, yeah, they can mine moonglass, but they don't clear birds a lot faster than you can by yourself. Still, it's good to have a safety net in case of a hound wave. And on day 119, I'm starting the fight with Celestial Champ. Because I was able to get a war saddle so early, I figured I would try this fight with the Beefalo. I got plenty of healing in case we get hits, and I'm able to wear the bone helm during the fight and not worry about losing durability. The Merms will help for a moment before getting knocked over like bowling pins. No, seriously, they're all dead by phase 2. I've never figured out how phase 2 matches a player's speed on a Beefalo. Like, does it matter if the player is standing on cobblestone or holding a walking cane? Even though it doesn't affect the Beefalo's speed. I don't really know, but just to be safe, I'm making sure to not have the walking cane equipped when the boss starts its charge. Phase 3 is probably the most treacherous phase for a Beefalo because of the laser attacks that can do a massive amount of damage. It also has very unpredictable behavior, so it can be difficult to kite the lasers. For example, sometimes you'll be in melee range and it will suddenly fly away from you so fast that it'll trigger the laser attack while you're trying to catch up to it. It also likes to straight up cheat and fire off not 2, but 4 lasers in rapid progression. This happened and it immediately put my Beefalo in the red. So I'm backing off and healing it with flower salad. Beefalo gain 4 times the healing from food they eat. So feeding it 4 flower salad will heal for 640 HP. And the boss won't chase you in this phase, so you can back off anytime and heal up as needed. Epic health bar is kinda OP. I got the boss down to 8 health, and it seemed like a rare opportunity to end this fight with a punch to the crown. Celestial Champion goes down on day 121. Wagstaff is going to need to renew that prescription of copium for a couple more years because I'm not ready to activate the rifts yet. Day 127, it's time for Todd. If we had activated the Shadow Rifts, I would have needed an umbrella and likely a pillar built nearby. To maximize my damage output, I'm going to use Dank Swords in combination with the Enlightened Crown. I just need to keep slamming cooked cactus to keep my sanity topped off. The food does lose a bit of spoilage every time I get a spore cloud, so I'm taking out 5 cactus at a time and keeping the rest of it safe inside the icebox. I'm using bone armor, but you want to be careful with this setup, because if Toadstool hits you while the armor is on cooldown, it's gonna be full damage. In the first phase, it's not a huge deal because the boom shrooms are spaced far enough apart that the bone armor can catch every explosion. The second phase gets riskier when Todd starts jumping. 1 mineral falling from the ceiling can put the armor on cooldown, and the next attack can hit your face for 100 damage. So, in the second phase, I'm switching to a Thulecite crown. It'll take a bit longer to finish, but I got plenty of glass axes, and I'd rather be safe. Now the only pre-rift boss left to take on is Malbatross, so I'm gonna do a bit of sailing. This will also be a good opportunity to grab some sunfish, which is very important for Wurt to have. So for summer sailing, I like to keep an icebox on my boat for cooling thermal stones. I'm also packing a luxury fan in case a wildfire catches on the boat when I'm not paying attention. Sunken treasure is one of my favorite items for decorating. I don't think I've ever cracked one of these open. The chest itself looks way better than anything I could find inside. Day 136, I hear the dreaded har har of a pirate raid incoming. The first thing I do is put a stack of twigs into my first inventory spot. When you get raided, the monkeys will steal from your inventory, starting with that first slot. If you don't fight back, they leave after about 20 items. Fortunately, monkeys can't follow you into sea stacks, and I happened to be in the middle of some when the raid started. I never got a chance to see the monkeys. They probably hit a rock off screen and retreated before I knew what happened. Seriously though, how cool would it be to get a way to plant our own sea stacks in DST? We could make like a safety corridor leading to the monkey island, and the troll on the server could turn them all into seaweeds. 17 shoalfish later, I finally spawn Malbatross. Now, I'm actually very unprepared for this fight. First thing I need to do is make an anchor. Fortunately, she didn't despawn by the time I got back to the shoal. She does that sometimes. This fight was a hot mess. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but kiting didn't seem to be a consideration. I started with bone armor and shield, and when the shield got low, I switched to a dark sword and eye mask. It really didn't help that Malba had me pinned at the edge of the world and scooted into the middle of the boat, so it was impossible to kite her. She even trick shot me with a tail swipe, immediately followed by a dive. Malba is cheating again, and I really have no plans to make a winged sail. But at least now Wurt can say that all the pre-riff bosses are dead as of day 137. With a few days left in summer, we are going to keep sailing and hopefully find some sunfish. Day 139, we spot a school of sunfish swimming around some swell ocean.
Ain't that swell?
I found that the spoons work best when catching sunfish and ice breams, so that's what I'm going to use here. They put up a fight, but I managed to throw all 6 of them into the bin. About half a day later, we find another school of sunfish. Wurt was able to snag a few before she got cut short by a squid raid. Final day of summer, Wurt found another sunfish herd. This is ridiculous. I'll sail around for entire seasons and not see a single one of these. But Wurt is sailing home with 14 sunfish in her bin, which is gonna basically nullify all seasonal dangers for both winter and spring. The late game is gonna be so much fun. But that does it for year 2. Next time, Wurt is going to move into the Oasis, get to scale farming so we can build our official chest zone, and then it'll be time to clear the ruins again. Hope you enjoyed the recaps, and stay tuned for year 3 coming out soon. Take care.